Hello there. Welcome to my reaction to Sonic 3D Blast. 3D Blast by Scott DeVos. I've uh I've checked and apparently I haven't done a reaction to Scott's videos in an entire year. My last reaction was on 23rd of December of 2021. Uh it's not like I didn't enjoy his content, but I don't know, kind of fell out of reacting normally. I guess that was much later than that. It doesn't matter. But I haven't reacted to any of his videos or watched them. I'm kind of curious if anything changed. And also, this is his latest video that came out like a day ago. But also, I know a little bit about 3D Blast, maybe. If I'm not mistaken, it's not a very good game. And also, because Game Grumps played it, and I saw it there, I don't think they beat it. Or at least I don't remember them beating it. But anyway, like and subscribe, become a member, and let's begin.
Hey y'all, Scott
Hey.
here.
Hey, Scott.
This is Sonic 3D Blast. This is a hernia.
Also, let me make it louder for you.
Spot the difference. Ugh, do I even have to explain myself here? Who's ever looked at this and said, delicious? Sonic
Delicious.
3D Blast. Sonic the Hedgehog's jump to 3D. World's quickest sin. This has always been a strange one. See, the Sonic the Hedgehog series was hot in the early 90s, but started to wane a bit as the decade went on due to the Sega Genesis reaching the end of its life cycle and the following system, the Sega Saturn, not attaining that level of popularity alongside the fact that after Sonic and Knuckles in 1994, we didn't get a new mainline Sonic game until 1998 with Sonic Adventure on the Sega Dreamcast. That's a long time to go without a new game, so how do we keep Sonic relevant?
Did Dreamcast sell better? I heard more good things about it.
Have a complicated
than Saturn.
relationship with this game, as I feel many people do. See, this isn't one of the crown jewels of the Sonic franchise. It seems that everybody's in agreement this isn't a great game. Yet, I've never seen anybody actively hate it. Not like it.
Really?
Sure,
Okay.
but hate? That's like picking on a dog with no legs. I know this game isn't great, but I still
Oh, so it's that
like
bad?
it. It's like dating a bad
Like
boy.
Sonic
You
06?
never marry it, but maybe just this once. Sonic 3D Blast came to fruition after Sonic Team toyed with the concept of a 3D styled Sonic title while developing Sonic 3, but what they were envisioning required certain chips to be included in the Sonic 3 game cartridge, which would have made a Sonic game more expensive than the child who wanted it was worth. So that idea was scrapped for Sonic 3. And that's how Sonic 3 became a good game. But the idea of a 3D Sonic on the Sega Genesis just wouldn't go away.
That's called an intrusive thought.
No, it's Sonic 3D Blast.
Yup.
However, the next generation of console gaming was upon us, allowing for 3D
I don't think I
games
played
to
that
be
one.
a standard, not a novelty. The Sega Saturn had officially released, which is why this was the perfect time to make a 3D Sonic on the Genesis. No, wait. Now it is. Yeah, even though the Sega Saturn had been on the market since 1994, Sega was still interested in supporting the Genesis with Sonic content, even when the Saturn had nothing of the sort.
scary.
Sonic Team wanted to branch out from the franchise for a bit with games like Nights into Dreams, and I guess Sega as a whole was alright with putting Sonic on the back burner for a little bit. Maybe help give some of their other games some time to shine. I mean, come on, name 80 Sega Genesis games that aren't Sonic. Bet you can't. But that didn't mean Sonic
80?
development wasn't going on, just wasn't a
I
huge
can't
priority
name it
for
with
Sega at the
Sonic.
time. A handful of Sega Game Gear releases, Sega Master System titles, Knuckles Chaotix on the Sega 32X, the series was far from dead. But throughout 1995 and 96, it was being used to support smaller factors of Sega's business rather than their major new console. Maybe they thought the Saturn didn't need the help. It was getting new games regardless. We should focus on giving Game Gear players a reason to get out of bed today. I don't know. I mean, I get it. Sonic Labyrinth probably cost less than half a buck to produce, but at the cost of your new system that needed to be successful, not having a killer app or even just a single damn game from a series everybody recognized, it obviously didn't work out for them. So it. Let's
understandably
make a 3D Sonic
so.
for the Sega Genesis. So why a 3D Sonic on this system? Why wake up in the morning? I don't know. Well, see, Sega was developing a Sonic game for the Sega Saturn. It was meant to be a response to 3D gaming and nothing more. Sonic Extreme was
So
created
it's
by Sega Technical
Mario
Institute in North
64
America
answer.
as the Sega Saturn's big holiday title for
A
1996.
competitor.
But just by watching the promotional
Oh
videos,
god.
you can tell the project was directionless. It felt like this was being cobbled together to show that Sonic and Sega by proxy can stand toe-to-toe with the other guys in their fancy big penis 3D platformers, so of course Sega showed up to the baking competition with this. What the hell was this game? It didn't look bad per se. It was more so just confusing. Like, what are these levels? What are you doing in them? How do you progress? Why
It's
is there
too
a
zoomed in
fisheye
as well.
lens? This game just looked like a 2D game you could move towards and away from the camera in. Not anything nearly as impressive
collecting
as Super
rings in
Mario
the process.
64. Hell, even Crash Bandicoot. And a 2D game you can move towards and away from the camera in is exactly what that game is. Regardless, Extreme was
Yeah.
poised to be the mainline Sonic series jump to 3D. Deal with it, life f***ing stinks. But now without a taste of 3D for Genesis owners, as Sega crafted a completely separate 3D Sonic experience for that console.
Oh my god.
Sonic 3D Blast. These two were supposed to come out at the same time.
The 5
Like how a
FPS.
game like Assassin's Creed Unity released for PS4 and Xbox One the same day as Assassin's Creed Rogue for PS3 and Xbox 360. It's not that I'm the first to think of that analogy, I was the first brave enough to say it. It's all about offering customers who haven't upgraded consoles yet an affordable option of their own, and Sonic 3D Blast on the Sega Genesis seemed to be exactly that. Poverty 3D Sonic. And with it being the last Sonic game
what a
on the
great
system,
running
hell,
animation.
one of the last games on the system in general, you can view this as a bit more of a celebration.
Might as well be Sonic the Duck.
Like, hey, let's do one last Sonic game on this guy and make it 3D to show just how far we've come. This was set to be an incredible and momentous holiday season for Sonic. Until the meth wore off. Yeah, all those things I said about Sonic Extreme
Yeah, okay.
weren't just my opinions. Those were core to the reason why that game got canceled. This thing was not working out. Though thankfully, Sonic 3D Blast functioned. So this became Sonic's
What if they
grand
made
leap to
Blast
3D.
for Saturn?
In addition to a Sega Genesis version, Sega released a Sega Saturn version that
Oh.
holiday in place of Sonic Extreme, which made them look even more pathetic. You're releasing a 3D game 2 months after Super Mario 64 and it's this? Even calling it 3D Blast is so cocky when you know what this
Yeah.
is. Like, they could have called Mario 64 Mario 3D Blast, but they didn't, because a more generic title was coming later. Sonic 3D Blast wasn't primarily
Yeah,
developed
true.
by Sega's Sonic team or any of the other in-house developers. Rather, it was created by Traveler's Tales. Who are these guys? Well, they developed Pugsy. Why did those have to be my last words? But you probably know them best now for their work on the Lego games. So they
Oh.
developed a far greater variety
Yeah,
of
TT uses
titles, and many of which were
familiar
licensed movie
logo.
games, such as Toy Story. In fact, it was their work on that game in particular to garner Sega's attention, seeing how well they were able to craft 3D-like visuals on the Genesis. So give them Sonic, and hey, why not make a Sega Saturn version as well, just to be safe, because, you know, Sonic Extreme might get canceled just as much as I might be dead. You know, Sonic 3D Blast on the Sega Genesis
Fair.
had a relatively quick development time, only taking roughly 8 months to complete, with the Sega Saturn version being whipped together even faster in just 7 weeks. What once was just meant to
Wow.
be a supplementary title became the core holiday release, and thus, Sonic 3D Blast received a middling response, at least on the Sega Saturn side of things. The Genesis version was actually praised at the time. This
Oh,
was
okay.
impressive for the hardware. This hardware, not this one. Which that just goes to show how this game was doomed to age poorly. I mean, if people thought this was outdated on the Sega Saturn, just think what I thought playing this on GameCube. Yes, myself, alongside
Still
countless
dead.
others, first experienced 3D Blast via the Sonic Mega Collection. This title definitely stood out amongst the crowd, and I loved it for that. I mean, hey, you have Sonic 1, 2, 3, and Knuckles, that's all fine and good, but variety is the spice of life, and Sonic 3D Blast was a cool offshoot title to switch to now and then. And much like the actual mainline Sonic games, I never got far. Hell, in this one, I don't even think I beat the first level. Well, that's all going to change today. See, my soul still has unfinished business here on Earth. That's why I'm still here. So I
Oh,
assume My
okay.
destiny is to
Continuity.
finish Sonic 3D Blast and figure out its worth. Then, and only then, will I finally go to hell. Or, next best option, I'll be resurrected. So, let's do it. Let's
Yeah,
fulfill one of my
I'm
two
expecting
lifelong
that to happen.
goals. Like I have a choice. While my first experience with 3D Blast was via the Sonic Mega Collection, compilations have pretty much been my only way of experiencing this game. Actually holding the game box and cartridge is a surreal experience. Yeah, sure, playing it on GameCube, I understood how impressive this was as a Genesis game, But that just goes to show how much
Ah.
playing on the original hardware can enhance the experience. When you're playing via an actual cartridge on an old school TV and you see this?
No, the animation is still weird, but I guess for Genesis it's quite good.
Was that Sonic? With birds? Of course, the second most shocking element here was the fact we have a CGI opening cutscene on a Sega Genesis cartridge.
Yeah.
I don't care how many frames it is. I don't care what the resolution is. This was one of the coolest things
Okay.
in any Sonic game I saw.
I take some of my criticism
I
back.
played this on the GameCube. On the actual Sega Genesis, this is still mind-blowing. Even the title screen here looks impressive for the hardware. Hopping into the main menu, we have 3 options. Starting the
And
game,
they are in
deleting the
3D.
fun layout,
Of course they
and
are.
a sound test. No continue option or save feature like in Sonic 3? You'd assume by 1996 this would be a standard. Much like how I assume Sonic 3D Blast is gonna be good. Well,
It
on
might
to the game.
appear
Other
later.
classic Sonic titles, we get this little story blurb at the beginning. Are you ready to meet the Flickies?
The what?
Yeah. Mysterious birds who live in another dimension and can travel anywhere through large rings.
Large rings? Wow. Realism, I guess.
Dr. Robotnik learns about the Flickies. I will change the Flickies into robots and have them search for the Chaos Emeralds for me. Using the infinite
Okay.
power of the emeralds, I can conquer the world.
Of course you can.
Because of birds. Sonic visits Flicky Island to
It's
see his friends,
Flickies.
but the only thing he finds are robots.
There's a tree right behind him.
Robotnik made my friends like this. I must save them.
It's a
Robotnik
robot
must
tree.
be stopped.
Maybe.
Sonic starts to defeat the enemies in order to rescue the Flickies who are trapped inside.
Story of my fucking life.
Go, Sonic! You can warp through the big rings. With the help of the Flickies,
I don't buy it.
chase after Robotnik and defeat his plans.
Yeah, kick his plan's ass.
And here it is, Sonic 3D Blast. He looks miserable. This is 3D? I can get the same feeling looking at my hand. Yeah, everything about
I mean,
this game needs to include a
that
dozen
means it's
asterisks
3D.
next to it. Like, seriously? 3D? The graphics are pre-rendered. Now, when I heard that word when I was younger, sure, I'd go along with the mob, but I didn't know why we were pillaging the village. Well, imagine creating a 3D model of something. The Sega Genesis can't display that, but you know what it can? A picture of that 3D model. So
Yeah,
these
yeah.
are all 2D sprites
Mortal
based on
Kombat style.
images of 3D rendering. So deep down that family tree, you could consider Sonic 3D Blast to be 3D. But it's played from a top-down perspective, or to be more exact, isometric, meaning
yeah,
at an
but
angle.
it's
And that is
isometric.
like the
It's like
cheapest
2.5D.
way to pretend your game is 3D. Oh, Sonic used to only be able to go left and right. Well, now we can go up and down. Yeah, was Adventure on Atari 3D?
No, it wasn't 3D. It stunk.
The game Super Mario RPG came out months before this, and that pretty much did everything 3D Blast is doing right now without
But
having
better.
to brag about it in its title. This is nothing new and nothing to tout, and the 3D honestly makes this game so much clunkier than any other classic Sonic experience. Well, he feels so damn slippery here. It's like I'm on ice the whole damn game.
Sonic was always
I
kinda
guess skipping
clunky, to
around
be
is supposed
honest.
to convey Sonic speed, because without it, like, this is the fastest thing alive? Yeah, maybe in a post-apocalyptic world ran by slugs. Well, let's just remove speed from our minds for a bit here.
Done.
Let's just critique this as a functional video game. Oh, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Precise jumping is a myth here. Being not 3D can make it so confusing to know where you are in relation to
Yeah.
the environment. And even if you do know, the game can tell you to fuck off.
Normally in games the shadow helps.
Horrible or
but I'm looking
anything.
at it
It's
and sometimes it
responsive and
disappears.
something you can get used to, but that's not a compliment. That's the bare minimum a video game should be. It sounds like one though, so go ahead. I don't care. So standard Sonic the Hedgehog games at the time couldn't be simpler. Just get to the end of the stage.
No, it's
Sonic
got
3D
enough rings
Blast is
for the big
similarly
ring.
Very straightforward. Though as a kid, I never knew what the hell I was doing here. I just knew surely it must be important. Well, since we have to save birds trapped inside robots, we have
Flickies.
to defeat each and every enemy in a stage to collect said birds.
Holy sh!
We gotta bring the Flickies we collect to this giant ring. That's what you do. Collect birds, bring them to the ring. Repeat, but don't rinse. This is the gameplay loop. It functions. It's just damn boring, and I feel like a lot of that's because of how the
It's
game
definitely
looks.
one of the games
But
of all
also
time.
the fact that the gameplay is just damn boring. Every stage has these checkerboard floors with really unappealing colors that honestly hurt the eyes more than anything. It's kind of disorienting, both to look at and also to
But
know
probably
where you are in this world.
with some
When the
kind of
game's
different
about
floor
finding all the
that
enemies
Genesis
and I
would be
can barely
capable
even tell
of,
where I am in the level
it
because
would be
90%
worse
of the
to
screen
understand
is
where you
floor,
are.
that's a problem. Plus, when you get hit with some flickies on you, they get scattered around and you have to get them back. But with how the graphics look, it's like trying to find a bird in a haystack. It's really hard.
I don't even know where a haystack is.
And with how slippery this is,
Yeah,
zooming
that
past
will
the
be a
ground,
problem.
Not knowing where you were and not knowing where you're going, Sonic 3D Blast just gives me a headache. Conspiracy theory number 1: Tylenol funded this. However,
Oh.
it's something you get used to as time goes on, and the overall
Okay.
layout and level design here works. Nothing's really all too fun per se, nothing really sticks out, but it's not bad. It's just there. This gameplay feels like it was designed around the 3D gimmick rather than because they had a core concept for a good game. Yeah, you kill like 10 enemies and bring birds to a ring. This isn't a game, it's a list of to-dos. Sonic 3D Blast is about as deep as getting out of bed in the morning. It's so damn simple, but goddamn is it hard to follow through with it. Just the same damn thing over and over and over again, and it's not even really that challenging, it's just Sonic 3D Blast! This game's in a weird place, okay? Because there's nothing really that interesting going on here. It doesn't do anything inherently well. It's just an experience that happens. It's, by all accounts, a worthless video game.
He's kind of cute, though.
Yeah, 3D Blast is an anomaly.
Easy.
It's not fun, but it's not very good either. Though what makes it appealing, regardless of these detractors, is the charm, uniqueness, and overall general playability. There's something pathetically endearing about a game trying to pass off as a 3D experience in the 90s, and the fact that it isn't actually 3D makes the game so much more playable today than other titles. They designed this as a game that looked cutting edge, but was a standard 16-bit Sega Genesis game at its heart, rather than a game that truly was cutting edge being crammed onto the Sega Genesis when it didn't belong. Compare this to many of the other early 3D games at the time. Well, this isn't anything to write home about. In comparison to the others, I guarantee it's one of the most playable today. It runs smooth. All you can do is run around, jump, and perform a spin dash. It's very simple, which can make it kind of boring and monotonous, but hey, it makes it age far better than many of the early 3D games on PlayStation. Well, yeah.
Nah, that wasn't the point of the games, though, to age well.
They sort of have their own weird little style to them. It's kind of charming. This game is sort of garbage and obsolete, yet very competent and playable with a lot of character, which makes it so oddly lovable to me. Dude, your brother just fucking shot me.
Oh my god. When is he gonna learn?
Conspiracy theory number 2.
Oh?
This game isn't too bad. Whenever I see it in the latest Sega Genesis collections, I always pop it on for a little bit to run around the first level. It's kind of enjoyable to jump about and gawk at the primitive 3D environment here. Though I never really cared to go much further than that. The gameplay loop of saving flickies is incredibly uninteresting and tedious, especially considering you have to jump on enemies to save
I'm looking
them.
at it. It doesn't feel
Already
too
has
different
issues with
between
perspective.
levels.
This concept would have worked far better.
And
in
hearing what
2D.
he has to say about
3D
the
Blast
gameplay
definitely
loop
knows this
is...
because one of the power-ups available is the gold shield, giving Sonic the ability to perform the Sonic Blast attack, better known in future games as the homing attack. Yeah, the ability famously introduced in Sonic Adventure, allowing you to home in on enemies after jumping due to how difficult it was to line up jumps in 3D. I fucking wonder where they fucking got that fucking idea. Conspiracy theory number 3.
They learn their
This game,
mistakes.
the homing attack is
Oh.
great to have here, but a little odd it's locked behind a power-up. Because what does Sonic 3D Blast gain from this? A dysfunctional relationship. Other than that, the power-ups available here are limited to invincibility, the speed shoes, the standard shield, and the fire shield, which doesn't even have the cool properties it had in Sonic 3 and Knuckles. No, this just gives us fire resistance. What's cooler than Sonic? Sonic not giving a fuck. You can find Knuckles and Tails
I
at each
guess.
level, and giving them 50 rings will bring us to the special stage.
To collect 50 rings. That you just gave.
God, these just never look inviting to me. They're
Yeah.
always so drab with an incredibly disorienting background if you focus on it. But the stages themselves, I mean, it's a bridge. If this is a special stage, well, I don't want to know what the fuck this is. These are incredibly easy. Some of the easiest special stages in all of Sonic history, which, hey,
Oh, I
I'll
see.
take that
Okay, it's like a
compared to the
chapter.
alternative.
Oh, I
the hell,
remember
Sonic
that.
2 special stages? But we can just keep getting rings in the stage and bring them back to these guys to grind the levels out and get all 7 Chaos Emeralds crazy early on, which all these do is unlock the true
Whoa.
final boss. See, after these unlocked Super Sonic and Sonic 2, 3, and Knuckles, oh, in 3 and Knuckles, we got damn Hypersonic. The fact our reward for
Oh.
getting all the Chaos Emeralds is this, I can tell what you're trying to do. I'm not giving you the sympathy vote for this. Just let me tell you, this game
Yeah,
feels
they're
like
in
it's trying
Super
to pull
Sonic
that
in
at
there.
every second. Like,
Whoa.
man, this is the enemy that stole your bird, beat you senseless, f***ed your wife. 8 zones in total, with most containing 3 acts.
B, alright.
Them all, but there's just not enough noteworthy here. Each of them has something distinct to them, yes, but it's never really enough to make any stick out. The closest, in my opinion, are these spinner things in Rusty Ruin Zone. Diamond Dust Zone is an ice level, Volcano Valley Zone is lava themed, Green Grove is the first zone, and
Nice.
damn well looks the part. Well, these are all unique enough, I guess, with the repetitive gameplay, camera angle, and limited level gimmicks. They end up just feeling like the same damn things. Finishing the game, I got no sense of satisfaction. It wasn't like I beat the game. I withstood
Yay.
it. That's not to say 3D
Is there
Blast
no
is bad
cutscene?
overall. Just mediocre. It's charming for sure.
Oh.
It just feels more interested in
There's
hooking
this
people
at
in
least.
with the marketing gimmick of being a 3D game on the Sega Genesis. Holy sh! That's possible? Nope. This game is the big fat 5 out of 10. It's not bad, but goddamn, why would you play it? Well, the game's programmer John Burton took it upon himself decades later to give you a reason to play it,
Oh.
releasing a mod for the game on PC titled Sonic 3D Blast Director's Cut in 2017.
What
This
does
is one of
that
those
do?
official, unofficial releases where it wasn't released by Sega, but it was released by one of the developers. So, hey, more credibility than my director's cut.
I don't know.
Burton took this opportunity to tweak the game and add a few options to make the experience overall less frustrating.
Oh, I did
more
Super
fleshed out.
Sonic, there
That
it is.
included a save feature using passwords, level editor, Super Sonic, a better camera system, better control, and a handful more changes that do make the game better, yes, but these are all fairly minor issues that don't affect the overall gameplay loop.
Original
It's
game in the
still
very bottom.
uninteresting. It's just less flawed than before, though I still
I
commend
wonder
Burton
why.
for going through with this. I think all the changes he made, I mean, he did everything he could have done to 3D Blast without completely overhauling the experience. Any problem I have with Director's Cut has to do with the fact it's still Sonic 3D Blast. But it's great
Yeah.
to have a better version of the game available alongside a better version. Sonic 3D Blast on Sega Saturn.
Is it
They finally
different?
did it. They put the game made for the wad of gum on the Cadillac. Say, do you think they could put Pong on my PlayStation 5? It's pretty obvious
No.
why this didn't excite many people. I mean, you weren't fooling anybody with this. It's almost as if Sega assumed putting Sonic and 3D in the title would have been enough for the game to compete with the likes of Super Mario 64. And when the title is
They
bragging
could have
about
named
itself,
it
and this is what you
Sonic
did,
Saturn.
Yeah, it's understandable why reviews of the Saturn version weren't glowing. Though this has always been the best way to play 3D Blast. It's so much smoother with far more defined and refined visuals. The environments don't look like a magic eye picture, rather look like actual environments. These look like more
Alright,
than just
Bridge
video
even
game levels.
goes
The
under
music is
your
all
weight.
CD quality, brilliant tracks that are different from the Genesis ones, though that's not to say the Genesis version is bad. Far from it. I genuinely think the best thing to come from both of these games is the soundtrack. It's wonderful, at the same quality as
okay.
any of the other classic Sonic titles on the Genesis. But the Saturn version is really something special considering we didn't have a ton of classic Sonic material during this time. Especially on the Saturn, so this music gives us a glimpse as to how more mainline Sonic games would have sounded post-Genesis but pre-Dreamcast, and it's really unique. The special stages are brand new and now fully 3D.
What is Saturn? Is it 32-bit?
Pre-rendered and just flat out rendered. Yeah, these are just 3D souped up takes on the special stage formula from Sonic 2. Though these are
Yeah.
done so well. Absolutely fantastic special stages here. And not too hard, not too easy. The controls great.
Looks pretty
with enough
good.
variables being thrown in from time to time. Perfect. This version has different opening and ending cutscenes, which are technically far better than the Genesis version, but just aren't as impressive because, like, ooh, the Sega Saturn playing a video file. Ooh, I've been talking about Sonic 3D Blast for 20 minutes. Like, yeah, it was designed to do that. Interestingly, though,
Yeah.
it just goes right into the game. No story cutscenes like in the Genesis version. There's also still no save feature, which I don't
Oh.
care if the game's 3 hours
All
long.
right,
On
that's-
the Sega Saturn, that's unacceptable.
That's weird
And
to do.
Jesus Christ, the load times are abysmal in this one. There are definitely pros and cons between the two releases, though overall, I'd say the Saturn version is the best of the bunch, though the Genesis one is more fun to look back on. Let's be honest, this game as a whole isn't necessary to play these days,
Diamond
so
Dust.
yeah, the Saturn version is superior. If you're playing the game in the first place, you might as well just play it on Genesis. This game has always been more of a novelty, like, oh, look at it try. On Saturn, this isn't impressive, and the gameplay's the exact same, albeit smoother and visually clearer. But this was always initially designed as a game in fake 3D that would work well on the Genesis. And the gameplay suffers from being pretty
Relatively
repetitive
well.
because of it. You put this game on the Saturn and like, yeah, it's better, but are you really playing Sonic 3D Blast for a good time? Or to look back at history and chuckle?
But circling back to what I said earlier,
Yeah, the
regardless of
second
its
one probably.
detractors, the charm, uniqueness, and playability make 3D Blast just such an easy game to pop into and experience what Sega wanted you to think was 3D. It will always be an interesting time to look back on, and it's a surprisingly tolerable one to experience these days. And while 3D Blast is more so a spin-off, some consider it to be mainline, and honestly, with how big of an imprint it left on the Sonic series, video games as a whole, it's easy to see why. The gameplay mechanics and even music were used in Sonic Adventure. The isometric camera, well, clunky, feels like it almost lent some inspiration to future 3D games like Mario 3D Land and Kirby and the Forgotten Land. It may not be perfect, but Sonic 3D Blast is far more important than you may think.
Okay.
Oh my god.
He got resurrected.
I just discovered the trick to staying alive! Lie!
Okay. Well, there it is, I guess. Sonic 3D Blast. I guess I just thought of it as a kind of a bad game, but through this review, I think of it as a still kind of a bad game, but for its time, it's a bit better than I thought of it. And maybe if people have nostalgia for it, if they played as kids and whatnot, they might even call it good. I don't know. It's a very bizarre like situation with it's just Sonic games in general. They're still kind of a weird thing. I don't know. I feel like people played Sonic, at least around here, because there was nothing else to play. Not nothing else, just not a lot of choice to make. And because Sonic games were okay on Sega Genesis, people played them and kind of liked them. Again, because they were kind of the best of the other options. Because there weren't many options to begin with. I don't know, what you think? I think I should thank you for watching this. I appreciate it a lot, and I hope to see you next time. And I hope to see you next time. I think I said it wrong. Anyway, goodbye. Have a great life, because one of us has to.